Hi, I'm Anaya Jones, and I did the era of bebop. The rise of bebop. In the mid 1940s, jazz became something else with sounds known as bebop or bop. The music began getting played in tiny nightclubs and not big dance halls, like it was with swing and early jazz. The music was different than it was before with small combo tunes. The music played was now difficult for people used to pop music and swing bands to grasp. Bebop like swing was still music that prized virtuosity, but there are people who saw it as an outsider's music and associated with drug abuse and racial swagger. Historians treat bebop as an evolution from swing. They place it in the center of jazz tradition. They also acknowledge that its status altered to self-conscious art music. So we're going to go to Minton's Playhouse. Minton's Playhouse was opened in 1940 and it was a place where bebop was born. People would have jam sessions here to play music. At the Playhouse, there would be musical obstacles placed to keep people from coming in who didn't belong. They would count off a tune at a super fast tempo or play it in an unfamiliar key. Sometimes the songs would be modulated up a half step with every chorus, challenging everyone's ability to transpose. During this show, who could keep up and those who did were welcome. Next are the innovations. Bebop changed drumming, and the person who did it was Kenny Clark, who was playing for a swing band led by Teddy Hill, and he was playing a fast arrangement of "Oh Man River." Clark found that he couldn't keep time in the usual fashion, and this was striking his bass drum for each beat. It came to him that he could shift the pulse to the rise cymbal. This gave him two new tactics: a shimmering cymbal that became the lighter, more flexible foundation for modern jazz, and the powerful bass drum now filling in the holes in the band's arrangement with its thunderous boom. His unexpected bass drum explosions were referred to as dropping bombs. Next were pianists, and during this time they dropped the stride patterns for comping. Comping was the rhythmical, unpredictable sheen of accompanying chords that complemented the drummer's strokes and added another layer to the rhythmic mix. Then there were guitarists during this time who steered clear of bebop or followed Charlie Christian's lead, and that was to switch to electric amplification. This allowed them to be more active and have more to do with the songs, like having a solo. Next are the harmonies. And then bebop was known for its complex, dissonant harmonies. These sounds had already been in jazz for years, though, but they were hard to understand and put together. Something that the bebop generation had to do was translate these dissonant harmonies into a vocabulary all musicians could share. All soloists and members of the rhythm section had to learn how to coordinate. And this was done deliberately or discovery of shock. Um, Coordination was done by Dizzy Gillespie and bassist Milt Hilton, and then the shock came in with Charlie Parker, who heard Tad Dammer. The new harmonies fastened onto dissonances like the tritone, the chromatic interval known to the Middle Ages as the devil in music, and to the bebopper as the flattened fifth. Some more extended notes were added to the palette, making the job of the harmonic improvisation more difficult. There were two main musicians during this time, and one of those was Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker is one of the best-known saxophonists. He earned his nickname Burn, which signified his melodious beauty, elusiveness, and quickness of flight. He was born in Kansas and grew up in Missouri's Kansas City. When he played in his school's marching band, he played the baritone horn, but eventually he picked up the alto saxophone. He taught himself how to play. He tried to sit in on jam sessions, but was humiliated when he sat in on Body and Soul and played the wrong key. After being embarrassed on the jam session, it only made him practice harder. He learned how to play fluently in every key one summer in Ozark. He spent time listening to famous alto saxophonists, but he spent most of his time listening to tenors. He listened to people like Chu Berry, Coleman Hawkins, and Lester Young. When he returned to Kansas City in the late 1937, he was supercharged and played songs at an amazing speed. He earned a position in the Michelin Orchestra, but Parker soon began using drugs and pills, and later on he began using heroin. When he played, he proved that he could blend beautifully in the saxophone section. People began to talk about him and how he played and also his drug use. The next person is Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy Gillespie was a trumpet player that would be a force in bebop. He had astounding solos and was able to do speeds that many didn't think were possible. He was able to match Parker but was seen as more dramatic. Gillespie was seen as a person who pulled together bebop into what it is today. Gillespie grew up in Churchill, South Carolina, and taught himself how to play the trumpet. But the way he did it caused him to damage his neck muscles, causing his cheek to protrude out like a frog when he played, shown in the picture on the left. He went to the Lernberg Institute where he studied trumpet and piano. He later went to New York where he played. In 1939, Gillespie had reached the top. He had been working for the Cab Calloway Orchestra. He was also doing well in the atmosphere that he was in. He was into mischief and did jokes. Gillespie was the one who held bebop together because of how he was able to quickly grasp the music novelties, and he was able to show others. He showed pianists how to play the right chords and demonstrated to the drummers the style. Because of Gillespie's piano skills, he was aware of the harmonic possibilities of bebop. So, Parker and Gillespie first crossed paths in the early 1940s. They were both amazed by one another and to work together in 1942. They were both, however, Earl Hines for his big band. They would soon work together again 2 years later when they began working with vocalist Billy Erskine, and he started his own band. By the end of 1944, they quit Erskine's band and they turned to small groups. They thought that small groups was the best way to show their music because it would embody the daringness of the jam sessions. They had a quintet and one of their songs was Coco. And I'm going to play it right here. The song is very well known in the jazz community. And then the collaboration between Parker and Gillespie only lasted a couple years because after they took the band to Los Angeles in hopes of publicizing their new music on the West Coast, they didn't find any success. So Gillespie went back to New York, but Parker stayed in California. And then for a time, bebop became marketed as a popular music, but began to fade away. When it began to fail is when the time it began to strengthen among musicians. They wanted to learn and master, and when mastering it, it meant that they could play like Parker and Gillespie. Bebop was a big part in jazz and became the foundation of contemporary jazz. Thank you.